One good thing about Perth is the excellent and extensive shared path network. Another good thing is that this network is being continuously expanded and improved. However, one problem with this is that the contractors doing the work sometimes make a complete hash of the detours around the work sites. I did a ride south to Cockburn today and went through 2 worksite detours. Neither detour was really satisfactory. In fact, one of them contained a really laughable stuff-up. In this case, the detour signs led straight to a fence across the path. Apart from being laughably stupid, this sort of thing can lead to crashes and injuries. This is why Austroads has published an entire series of guides on temporary traffic management, and you need to attend a training course and be certified before you can design and set up traffic detours. This stuff is serious. The WA Main Roads Department formally adopted the Austroads guides in February this year, so there should be no excuse for the site managers and traffic managers to be unaware of them. Analysis of crashes and mishaps often uses the Swiss cheese model. In order for a crash to occur, a whole series of defects or defences have to be bypassed. The whole idea of having standards and templates and processes and training and certification and checklists and auditing is to ensure that all the things that are supposed to stop crashes are actually in place. So how did we end up with this laughable cock-up in Cockburn? Well, I guess we start with the Austroads standards, which are now the main road standards. They exist, they are quite comprehensive, and they are used every day around the country for setting up temporary detours around all sorts of roadworks. You know, when you're driving down the freeway at 100 kilometres an hour and you see a work site coming up, these standards have been used to set up that work site. They're there to ensure a truck doesn't come ploughing through the site at 100 kilometres an hour. Next, we've got training and certification. You can't just read these guides from front to back and then set up a work site. You've got to attend a structured training course and get your certification. That training includes how to use the templates included in the guides for designing a detour around a work site and setting up all the signage in the right spots and having traffic controllers where they need to be. The guide also contains procedures such as daily inspections of the signage. If I recall correctly, a walkthrough should be done every day to ensure all the signage and other stuff is in the right place and providing the required level of protection for the workers. The traffic management plans also get reviewed before they are finally approved. For example, if you read the minutes of council traffic committees, you'll find that the traffic management plans have to be submitted to council in advance, and they are reviewed by the council traffic managers before being submitted to council for approval. Without council sign-off, the work can't proceed. What you'd also expect on top of this is that the council traffic managers would come out and have a look at the work site at least once to ensure it is both set up according to the traffic management plan and that it is operating safely. They might find that the plan needs tweaking or adjusting to take into account factors that weren't considered when the plans were drawn up and approved. Council or the main roads needs to audit the work sites because there's always the potential for dodgy operators to submit a set of plans and then not bother to go to the trouble and expense of fully implementing them. They might cut corners to save costs, and without an audit, no one will know, unless a crash occurs as a result and they then get busted. There's also supposed to be a set of traffic management plans for each phase of the project. That is, as the works proceed, you might need to set up different detours in different locations, so the placement of signage needs to keep pace with the works. Now, with that background out of the way, let's do a ride through and have a look at the quality of these detours. Keep in mind that a really common failure in my experience is for the traffic planners to not do a ride through on a bike when they set up a detour for cyclists. They do a walkthrough, but a walkthrough and a ride through are very different things. Now, the first detour is just off the end of the Mount Henry Bridge, and I've got to say I'm really pleased this bit of work is going ahead. Last time I rode through here, well, the only time I've ridden down this way, I thought the crossing that was being replaced was an absolute disaster. So kudos to the state government for doing this, but let's see how well the contractors have done the detour. Well, it starts well enough coming off the path and we get put into this street, which is fine. And then we get up to our first intersection and I'm looking for the signage. Where am I supposed to go? Okay, yeah, there's a sign over there for pedestrians. Not the best location, I think. There's no advance warning that you have to turn left there or anything like that. At least this street is a slow street. There's speed humps all the way down it, and they've slowed the traffic down to 40 kilometres an hour, which is good. And I was just very amused to see that there was no footpath on this side of the street, so I thought I'd just ride over here for giggles, just to demonstrate that yes, there is no path on that side of the street. I mean, why do councils do that? It's just mind-bending. Anyway, let's get up to the roundabout and see where we're supposed to go. Right, the roadworks end over on the left, and there's no signage. Now, I knew I had to go left here because I had a rough idea of the lay of the land, but if I hadn't been down here before, I probably wouldn't have known where to turn. This street, yeah, another one of these interesting streets with absolutely no footpath. It's bush on one side and just verges on the other. So I guess in this street, people just walk on the grass or they walk down the middle of the road. Beats me. This is, again, I'm really pleased this is being replaced, because if that guy hadn't popped out of this bike path, I probably would have missed it. It's really terribly marked. And just to give you an idea of what the detour works look like here, there it is, work in progress. So there's the freeway over there, obviously, and you can see it coming along, and it's going to replace this horrible bit of stuff here, which is great. Now let's have a look at it going in reverse. Now I popped out here and I thought, okay, where am I supposed to go? Am I supposed to stay on the footpath on this side of the road? Am I supposed to ride on the road? Am I supposed to cross over the road and go on the footpath on the other side? So I tried that. Get to this intersection, and where's the signage? Where's the directional signage? I mean, obviously this bloke was riding up the street, so that would give you some indication that, the detour is down here. But there was certainly no signage to tell you to go down here. So another fail on the directional signage. And as we come up here, remember the street we popped out of on the way down? Well, there is absolutely no signage at this intersection to tell you to turn right here. So, not doing too well on the directional signage. You got to remember, you don't have the luxury of replaying video, etc., in slow motion like a rugby referee to look for signage. You've got to make split-second decisions on the road based on what you can see. It really makes me wonder what's going to happen with autonomous vehicles, how they're going to handle this kind of terrible signage. I mean, they're just going to be blundering around or stopping, going nowhere, or, I don't know, driving into someone's swimming pool. So, yeah, on that one, could do better. And if a walkthrough or if a ride-through had been done, hopefully that missing signage would have been really obvious. So, how did it get missed? Anyway, let's move on. And now we get to Cockburn, and you have to wonder, how did we end up with this stuff up? Well, let's have a ride through the detour, and it starts off quite well. You come off the path, and they've got nice directional signage to tell you where to go. There's fencing, which kind of constrains you, so you just have to stay within the fences. The path gets a little bit sketchy in places where it turns into gravel, but that's manageable in daylight. Now, just have a look at that sign telling us to go left there, that kind of warning sign. That's important because we'll see a missing one later on. Then we get up onto some concrete path here. This is all good. We get to this spot here, and the route through wasn't entirely clear. I'm glad it was daylight and I didn't have to navigate through here in the dark. But, I made it through. Would I have made it through that easily in the dark if I'd never been through here before? I mean, remember, I've never been to Cockburn in my life. Ever. Never ridden down here. The furthest I've ever ridden down the shared path is to Fiona Stanley in the past. Now we get to this roundabout and I'm thinking, where do I go? There's absolutely no signage at this roundabout telling me where to go. So I rode up into the little Cockburn shopping centre near the railway station, wondering where the hell I was supposed to go. And just meandered around aimlessly for a couple of minutes, wasting time trying to figure out where I was supposed to go because no signage. Did see a cafe with some cyclists, got to see the the train station there with lots of bike parking. So that was all good. It was interesting. Got to see this new development. Had no idea it was here. Learned something new. Then I pop out here at the roundabout again, and what do I see as I come under this tree? Look, there's a sign popping out from behind a tree. Okay, good. You can only see it at the last moment though. And then suddenly, for the next couple of 100 meters, there's bicycle directional signage galore. I mean, it's just on almost every single pole they've stuck a bike direction sign up, which is great. This is how it should be all the way along the route. The problem is it's only along this section here, and here's another one telling me to turn left. Okay, all good. Why isn't that standard of signage replicated all the way along from the very beginning? Because if it had, this would be a fantastic detour. Unfortunately, well, maybe they ran out of signs, I don't know. Maybe the budget was constrained and they didn't have enough money to print more signs, who knows. Anyway, we get down here to the maps, which were terrible, I gotta say. Sorry, but they're really no good. On the way back, again, lots of directional signage, that was all good. Not too hard to find my way back this way. I mean, obviously I've already been along here, so I was just retracing my steps in the opposite direction. Once you've done it once, you're pretty much right from then on. We get to this corner and around we go, and more signage pointing the other way. So yeah, this is great. Maybe they're two people doing the signage, and one did one section really well and the other one did the other one not so well. Okay, here we come to the stuff up. I'm told to turn left by that sign there, so I do. Across the road. Getting across here was, didn't like it much because I'm glad there was no traffic coming from my left. Anyway, there was another sign telling me to turn right there, and look, there's a sign there telling me to go straight ahead into that fence. Yeah, how do you end up with that? I mean, seriously, I don't get it. Anyway, we'll go back through here. Again, it was not terribly clear at that point which way I was supposed to go. But we're back on the pink path and we're almost back on the normal route, except we get to here. Where's the sign telling us to turn left? Now imagine coming through here in the dark and just ploughing straight into that fence because you didn't see the fence. And that's the kind of thing that can happen in the dark. Which really says, no one's done a ride through here on a bike, because if you're coming through on a bike, you're coming through at 20, 25 kilometers an hour. If you're doing a walk through with a pile of plans, you're probably doing 4 or 5 kilometers an hour, and you're stopping regularly to review the plans. Now, we go back to the Swiss cheese model of how you end up with stuff ups, organisation and management level, preconditions, unsafe acts, etc. Clearly, well, the first conditions are met because that we have standards and guides and all the rest of it, and they've been adopted by the main road. So what's missing? Well, I work in the finance industry and we talk about first line of defence, etc. Now the first line of defence here obviously is standards, policies, procedures, checklists, and clearly they all exist because that's the Austroads guides. The second line of defence comes down to site management and project management, and that means the management on the ground actually going out and doing walkthroughs or ensuring walkthroughs are done by the traffic management people to make sure all the signage is in the right place and going through and sanity checking it. The third line of defence, though, is usually external audit. And in that case, this would be, I guess, the main roads department who probably commissioned this project, sending someone out there to actually have a look at the site and do a ride through and make sure everything is set up safely. And I guess that's the missing part. Where is the third line of defence? Main roads people just sitting in their office getting reports each week on progress and not bothering to turn up. Have they ever turned up and actually done a walkthrough? Have they looked at the traffic management plans to make sure they make sense and they're implemented properly? Who knows? But somewhere along the way, clearly, you can see that the signage is missing. So why is it missing? Where are we failing? Where are the holes in the Swiss cheese that are allowing this to get through? And I place this back, I think, on the main roads because it's their standards, it's their project. They should be making sure all this stuff is implemented properly.